The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Scheduled programming to bring you a show on the edge. Broadcasting worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings. We're back on the microphone. Thank you for joining me. Well, my friends, it's been a couple weeks since you've heard my voice sonically blasting through this microphone into your eardrums. We are in a beginning stage here, and it may sound slightly different because the studio is in disarray. It's not even close to what it normally has been, and we're updating it to make things an even better experience for you, the listener. And soon, more people are going to be able to see what's going on in the studio, as we've just come up with a major couple upgrades that we're going to be sliding in as we do a cosmetic upgrade for the show as well. But that's just on our end. On the world end, we have the hearings going on about the texts and how crooked people in the FBI are. We also have the president going to meet with Putin, which has caused a major uproar. So there's been a lot of things happening. And it's amazing, we take a little time off here and there, mostly in the summer and a little bit towards the end of the year. So when we're off there and we don't get to talk about these things, a whole lot builds up. Sometimes there's weeks when we're in this, the regular pace of the show, May-ish. We've been doing the show for weeks on end without any breaks. Sometimes you have to be creative about what you're going to talk about. But not when you take a few weeks off. We could talk about the rain right now because we haven't seen rain in a couple days, or a couple weeks, I should say. It's been fairly quiet on the precipitation front. But it's interesting that when you have time off, how much there's to talk about. And when you start discussing these things, you go, wait a minute, I'm not interested in something that happened a week ago. I think that's why the news cycle is the way it is. Even myself, who has been digesting this information over the past few weeks, intermediately, mind you, because we were doing other things. But when the Trump thing came with the Putin thing, and Trump, who just speaks in various shades of vagueness. See, everybody likes to pinpoint Trump lied on this, Trump lied on that. You see that in the mainstream media. It's not that Trump lied. What he does is he speaks extremely vague. He generalizes. Maybe people don't like generalizations. I understand. In general, if you just listen to the guy, it's not that he lies. He may exaggerate a little bit, and maybe you don't want that in a president. But it's a hell of a lot more fun having Trump as president from a commentator standpoint than it is to have Obama as the president. Obama was he was stiff, and he presented himself as this intellectual. I don't know how intellectual he was. He just spoke well, and he had good script writers. Trump speaks more off the cuff. The intellectuals out there won't appreciate that as much as the little guy. The little guy who carries this country decade after decade. It's always on the back of the little guy. It's nice for the little guy to get someone to speak to them in their language. But the intellectuals out there, or the people who think they're intellectual, because everybody seems to think that they're smarter than they actually are these days. These individuals out there that think they're intellectuals, they're so above the common man. They can't handle a guy like Trump because he doesn't speak to them. They want big words. They want a vast vocabulary out of their president. Doesn't matter if the president knows what those words actually mean or gives a crap. Uses nuance in the words so that he sounds good. Doesn't matter that, but to these people it does. And a doofus like Trump, who speaks the common man's language, is hated because of that specific thing. And they point out every little detail that they can that Trump isn't speaking correctly. He didn't use enough nuance in his vocabulary. So his vague sentence can be torn apart by these, the types, the intellectuals in the mainstream media. They're smarter than everybody. Do you ever get that feeling when you watch CNN, MSNBC, NBC, even Fox News? These guys or ladies. But these intellectuals that have degree in media, whatever that means, think they're above everybody, and they talk down to many of us, instead of just reporting the news. Don't give us a spin. Don't give us any bias. We don't even want your attitude. Talk like a robot. It's going to be great. They're replacing people with robots, and it's not going to take long in the workforce I'm speaking of. Isn't it going to be great when the newscaster on the mainstream manufactured news, bunch of fakers up there, isn't it going to be great when they replace them? And trust me, if they heard this, they'd be like, we can never be replaced. We're way too important. Script readers, right? These people, when they're replaced by virtual reality, maybe robot casters, especially, you see how realistic these sex robots look. They're going to have anchor robots one day. I know you intellectuals out there don't think that. No, that can never be. But if anybody is overpaid for the job they do, it's you guys. So eventually, your job is going to be threatened. And just because you think you're part of the clique doesn't matter. Because there's a lot of little people that think they're part of the clique. They're in those organizations that make you feel like you're part of the clique. Those little societies, these little exclusive societies. Even the little people have them. You got your local Mason Hall down the road where everybody goes and drinks beer, or the Democratic clubs. They're the same thing, just on a more common man level. They're coming for all of you. Don't think because you're part of something and you're not the very top, very, very top. If you're getting a paycheck from anybody, you're not on the top. You might be on the third rung, fourth rung from the top. Doesn't matter what degree you're in. But if you're not at the very top, you're expendable, buddy and lady. You're expendable. Now, if you do a good enough job, they pay you a little bit better. If you hold up the propaganda, if you give out the information that they want the world to believe. Then they pay you a little better, and you're a little higher up on the degree. Maybe you're not quite as expendable as the little guy down at the Democratic Hall or the Mason Hall around the corner. Because they can get another one of those a lot quicker. Somebody else will want to join. You can go recruit whoever you want because people want to be part of a clique. I haven't even got to the subjects of today. I've been off a few weeks, and that's what I was kind of talking about in the beginning. I've been off a few weeks, and what am I talking about? This type of thing. But it all relates, but it isn't the big part of the news. See, my analysis of the world is a little different than all those other commentators out there. They're going to jump on the bandwagon of the daily news cycle, talk about what is going on in that, and then they just move along. And that's how a lot of these conversationalists on the radio, on the podcasts, that's how they do their show. My commentation, if that's a word, commentation, my commentary on the world is a little different. I'm looking at the individuals, the groups, and how they react to certain things. Because remember, in the Hegelian dialectic, we've talked about this before, there's problem, reaction, solution. So whatever problem arises, in the case we are currently speaking of, it's Trump vaguely speaking about subjects when he's with Putin, when he's not with Putin. Whenever he's speaking, he's picked apart for how he says something because he speaks the common man's language. And the intellectuals don't like the common man. So why would they like their language? They look down on us. So I calculate all this together. I'm not so much worried about what Trump, he didn't look good there with Putin. But if somebody's smart, they might try to get really close to their enemies, because there is an old adage saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Trump might be engaging in that type of theory, that type of idea. Trump's pulled off a lot of amazing things, starting with winning the presidency and beyond. You have to wonder if he really is smarter than your average Joe, and he just knows how to talk to the average person, and he just doesn't care about the elitists. They're not a majority. The elitists are not the majority. But they like to run things. They like when you follow them because they're so smart and you're not. And because they're so smart, whatever they say should be followed without question. Because whether it's right or wrong, whether it's true or false, they're smarter than you. And you, as the common person, shouldn't question any things that they say. We've got to take our first time out, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Maybe we'll delve into the more specific news when we return.
Don't go anywhere now.
John will be right back right after this.
Yes, he will. Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-'70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births, and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled, and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's what's cool on radio.
Mr. President, the President of Russia is on the phone for you, sir.
Tell him I can't take his call at the moment.
He's insisting on speaking with you, sir.
Tell him I'm unavailable, and I'll call him when the heat's off.
Whatever you say, Mr. President.
Now I gotta tweet about it before it becomes big league news. Hey everyone, the Big D here. Vlad just tried to call me, and I said hell no. I told you I was tough on Russia. Hashtag huge, so huge. That should keep him off my back.
Mr. President,
What do you want now?
CNN is calling, sir. They want to talk about your latest tweet.
Oh, jeez. Tell them I'm busy.
What should I tell them you're doing, sir?
Tell them I'm dropping a deuce. Forget it. Let me tweet about it. Hey, everyone. CNN's bugging the hell out of me again. Going to drop a deuce. It'll be hashtag huge.
Hey, man, you're listening to the John Lebang Show, man. The place where chronic brain cell rejuvenation happens.
Feel like you're getting any smarter yet?
Yeah. So we had a big hoopla in the mainstream media about Donald Trump meeting with Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump misspoke. According to the mainstream media, he wasn't hard enough on Putin. According to anybody who dislikes the president, even some people in his own party, everybody seems to want war with Russia except Trump. Looking at this thing from a different point of view than most people, because it's not like I'm in Trump's camp, but I'm definitely not a Democrat, and I'm not a Republican. And I'm hoping the people that tune into the show have a wide enough range in their thought. Some people would call that being open-minded. I look at it more as a thinking mind, because an open mind can be filled with a lot of trash, just like an open garbage can be filled with a lot of garbage. A bunch of people got upset, and there's a lot of people. I heard people talking. Not just the elites out there, not just the political pundits. I heard what the common man was saying about the meeting between Putin and Mr. Donald Trump. The problem is they're saying what the media is saying because most of them watch the mainstream media. And a few days a week, I have a normal job like everybody else. And in this day in society, I can't believe it, but whatever, these companies have TVs running in their store. It's a new phenomenon to me. Started with the bars, and all of a sudden it's spread everywhere. Everybody's got a TV. Big Brother is everywhere. Telling you what you should be thinking. But I sit here and I'm like, Trump is trying to, at least how I see it, be friends with Vladimir Putin, at least publicly. And I don't see that as a negative. I know the big communist thing, and we should get into that. In fact, we're going to get into that in just a minute. But I don't see it a bad thing that Trump is trying to talk to our enemies to lower tensions in the world. If they are our enemies, who told us they were our enemies? The mainstream media and the political ruling class. I don't know if Russia's a good guy, a bad guy, any more than I know that Saudi Arabia is a good guy or a bad guy. They do bad things. Both countries do. And on a more recent level, within the last 20 years, Saudi Arabia is connected to 9/11, and we're still buddies with them. Russia hasn't done anything directly to the United States as far as some kind of attack. Yet we're still friends with Saudi Arabia, and everybody is upset that Donald Trump is trying to at least calm the tensions between the U.S. and Russia. And it was fine after the Cold War. Only in recent times has the U.S. had tensions with Russia. And you notice it was when the Democrat Party was doing the business of America. When Secretary Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, President Obama was running the country. You can say, oh, the Ukraine thing with Russia. Well, it's none of our business, is it? Is that worth causing massive tensions between the U.S. and Russia? Is that worth destroying what the Cold War, what happened after the Cold War, where there was peace between the two countries? Is that worth risking all that? The Ukraine. If Europe has a problem with it, let them deal with it. Oh, I know. We're part of NATO, so we have to defend them. That's our agreement, right? Well, maybe Trump sees it like I do. I don't know what Trump sees. I don't get to talk to the fella. I don't get to sit down and get his inner workings. None of us do. Very few of us do anyways. And Trump is smart. He's distancing himself from a lot of people because we know, just from the Russia investigation and the hearing and all that people inside the government can't be trusted. So whether you like Trump or not, he's protecting himself because there are people inside the government that are dirty and rotten. There are people inside the government that want war with Russia. Again, for some reason. We want to have another Cold War, high tensions with Russia. I don't know why. And they act like Trump's being soft on Russia. He's put more sanctions on Russia than Obama did. He's been involved with that. See, nothing adds up. Nothing at all adds up. And that's where I start getting into theory crafting. And this theory craft that I've been touching on inside my brain here, thinking about this for the last week, because what I see looks a hell of a lot more like a psyop than actual genuine reality. In other words, it's being manufactured. I'm not saying this is the reality because I simply do not have enough information and probably never will. No one will. Russia, for the most part, in the bowels of that country lies the heart of communism. Democrat, the party in general, has moved steadily from a Democratic party to a socialist party and is on a collision course with the destiny of being a full-blown communist party. You can't deny it. Look at the groups that are a part of the Democrat Party, and it is clear as day. They've left behind the more traditional Democrats. They've become Republicans. The traditional Democrat, the Democrat of the JFK era, is now one of those soft Republicans. The Republican Party is, at very least, a socialist party. They will deny it all day. They'll say they're a constitutional party and this and that. But none of them will have the courage to eliminate social programs, which is one of the hallmarks of a socialist society. The United States has gone from republic to democracy, where we are now in the early stages of socialism. And that's because the two political parties are there. So we have the Democrat Party, to get back to what I was saying, that are very close to being communist. Socialists for sure, very close to being communist. I'm talking the leadership and the people who have the influence inside the party. We have the Russians that are communists at the core. These are allies. They've always been allies. And the communists, for the most part, engage in these social experiments like the Hegelian dialectic. That's what they do. They engage in spying. Every country engages in spying because you have to. All the hoo-ha over Russian spying in America. I wonder how many elections we've affected in the last 20 years alone. But that's okay. If you're an American, it's okay if your country does it. But when it's done to you, you get all bent out of shape about it. So we have two parties that are natural allies. The Communist Party out in Russia and the Democrat Party in the United States. They have very much the same kind of viewpoints on the world. They have very much the same kind of viewpoints on social programs. But it's the Democrats who start picking fights with the Russians, looking like they're the opposition to the Russia. The appearance of it. Just because something appears one way doesn't mean it's that way. Then old Trump gets elected, who once said his viewpoints were very Democrat-like.
In many cases, I probably identify more as a Democrat.
But he took over the Republican Party. See, we're getting back to something here. I think the longtime listener is going to start catching on to where I'm going here. And again, I'm theory crafting. It's up to you to do the research and come to your own conclusions. But we got a man who once, we'll say, sided with the Democrat Party. We've got a Democrat Party pretending to be his opposition. They're also the opposition to Russia, a natural ally. Trump, who is, he's a capitalist, right? He's a capitalist. Capitalists can't be friends with socialists and communists. Just doesn't work, right? Except you can't have socialism without some form of capitalism paying for it all. And Trump wouldn't care if he's a capitalist anymore because he's now running the most powerful nation on the planet. So why would he care to be a capitalist right now? He can do whatever he truly believes. So what if just by chance Trump, and this theory has been out there, by the way. This is not a completely original theory here from John Lebang, but what if Trump really is a Democrat operative? He was put in power because they knew, Hillary Clinton, nobody in their right mind, no matter how bad the other candidate was, should have voted for Hillary in the election because she stole the nomination for Bernie Sanders. It's public knowledge. If you don't know that, you don't know anything, and you should probably never vote again. Hillary Clinton and the Democrat Party stole the nomination away from Bernie Sanders so she could be the Democrat presidential candidate who anybody in their right mind wouldn't vote for because of her extensive history in corruption. That's public knowledge too. If you don't know Whitewater, if you don't know the Benghazi situation, if you don't know the the Clinton Foundation and what they actually do, go check out Haiti. They knew there was going to be massive opposition to Hillary, yet they forced her upon the Democrat Party. Why? Why would you do that? Bernie would have been a much better choice for the Democrat Party to run as a presidential candidate. And he was winning. But they, in the Democrat Party, cheated. So let's pretend they set Trump up to take out the Republican leadership. Who was going to vote for Jeb Bush? Who was going to vote for anybody? There was a couple decent people, but they had no money behind them. They had no help. And they didn't have, sorry to say, you on the left who do not like Trump for any reason, they didn't have the charisma of Trump. People just gravitate to Trump, like it or not. So if they were to infiltrate the Republican Party with Trump, take it over, throw up a Hillary Clinton, cheat her way into that as being his opposition, then start an opposition movement against Trump, all the while picking fights with Russia, they look clean. They look like they're doing the right thing if you haven't put in the fact that they just cheated Bernie out of the presidential nomination. Maybe this is a giant psyop, and this is exactly the way the New World Order wanted it to happen. They had to split everybody apart, and they're going to use Trump. It could be that this whole thing was planned from the beginning, the problem, reaction, solution, so that the last stages of the New World Order, and please check out State Department 7277, is it possible that stage 3, which is the final stage, which would put us right into the New World Order, right on time, let you chew on that for a little while. We've got to take a break. We're way long. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Don't move a muscle.
John Lebang Show, right back.
With lots of fun and excitement. Yes!
CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
You know, it's so easy to manipulate everybody when they've got us all into these little cliques. They've got us all gravitating to certain ideas and certain patterns and certain... It's almost like a religion. We congregate with the people who only think a certain way, and then when there's an opposition to that, we find a way to clash. And it's so easy to make us clash because we've already divided ourselves. We've also already segregated ourselves. I mean, it goes beyond like religious status now and racial issues. We're divided for every little thing possible. And the ones that are easily distracted on top of it and who have maybe some very narcissistic behavior, you can mold that into people who will do practically anything for a cause. And because of that, if the power elite, whoever you want to call them, you know, we even argue over that. Is it the Illuminati? Is it the New World Order? What is the... It's people who want to stay in power, who already have power, who have all the money and wealth. They talk about the 1%. There's a 1% above that 1%. Those are the people that really dictate how the world goes. And everybody else down the pyramid is just a puppet for them. And if you're trusted enough, you get to be higher up towards the apex of the pyramid. And the closer to that very top of the pyramid that you are, the more freedom and luxuries you'll be able to obtain. And you'll be able to control people as well. Because that's one of the greatest secrets, is using people to do the bidding for yourself. The puppeteers, the people who manipulate everybody. Sometimes it's as easy as manipulating them with a paycheck. Other times you've got to blackmail them. But whatever it is, these people in the higher rungs of human existence, these people know how to manipulate the rest of us if you allow them to manipulate you. And because they don't care if a stragglers of one or two can't be manipulated, a lot of times they find a way to criminalize them because they know how to get a whole lot of people to do what they want. And so they don't get busted. They make sure the other side of whatever divide, whatever issue or entity, political struggle, whatever they need a division on, they make sure that there's an opposition there so that the people fight amongst themselves. The right fights the left. The liberals fight the conservatives. The Muslims fight the Christians. They manipulate all that. And the people at the top may have affiliations with each one of these groups, but they're more loyal to their ultimate group, the hierarchy of the world power structure, whatever it may be. And we here at the bottom, doesn't matter who we are, it happens all the time. We struggle with each other in naming who the problem is. It's Trump, it's the Democrats, it's the Republicans, it's Putin. When these people, for the most part, are taking advice, we'll say, that is the politically correct way of saying they're being manipulated, being directed into doing things. And a lot of people are going, no, Trump's his own man. He might be. But it is such a difficult feat to become the president of the United States. You wonder if anybody who makes it up that high is ever clean and is ever their own man or woman. You know, you want to believe in a leader, right? It's easy to go, man, this guy, we voted for him. We're going to believe in him. We're going to follow his lead because we put him there. But you have to look objectively at everything that not only he is doing, but what the opposition is doing. We even have people in the alternative because there's been a splintering there. You had the dialectic left-right, problem-solution, that type thing. As a consumer of world events, as people who watch what happens, there's been a splintering off into what I would say a third path. And they call that the alternative. And sometimes you look at the alternative and you go, okay, they're more correct than the left or the right because they seem fairer at times. But then you look deeper because they, as a collective, the alternative means anything not of the mainstream. You collect people who are a little wacky because there's nowhere else to put them. And those people in that alternative also get demonized as whack jobs and crazies. So you get the good with the bad or the bad with the good. And usually there's always more bad than good. You want to think people are good. And maybe a lot of people in your life are good. But because everybody has a point where they break from the rest of society. They separate. And whatever that break may be, that's where the mainstream elite and their masters manipulate the rest of us. And I've been manipulated. Everybody has fallen into the trap at some point in their life. Usually, it's when you're younger, and hopefully you learn not to fall into that trap. And even to this day, you've got to watch out as somebody who is aware that they try to manipulate us. That certain events will happen to strike at you personally, and you have to make conscious efforts to keep yourself on the straight and narrow and not fall into the manipulation. But it's hard. And when you have the left-right paradigm going at it constantly, and ultimately the overall goal is being achieved, it doesn't matter. It continues to move forward. Left, right, left, right. It continues to walk towards the ultimate goal. And every once in a while, a chink happens, or they throw a wrench in it themselves for whatever reason. Not sure. You never know what the people at the top of the world are doing and why they're doing it and why they have chosen this moment. There are people, researchers out there, that can give you clues to why they're doing it if you pay attention, if you're willing to have a thinking mind. But if you're one of those people that voted for Trump and Trump's perfect, Trump's great, Trump's doing a great job, and not realizing that sometimes he's not doing such a great job, then you're caught into that trap. There's not a person on the planet that's always right. And there's not a person on the planet that's always wrong. Some people are wrong more often than others. It can happen, that's for sure. The banger has felt it. I've tried to, hopefully, at least convey when I have been wrong. Convey that, yeah, I was wrong. It's really this. And I think you've noticed in how I report these days or how I commentate on the current events that I've centralized my thinking on this. I've played it a bit safer, you could say, with my commentary. And if I can't 100% prove something, I don't do it. I don't tell you about it. And if I do tell you about it, it's usually me theory crafting. And I tell you, this is a theory. I'm just crafting here. And I'm talking to you, people who listen, my friends. That's why we congregate every week on this channel that you're listening to me on. You join in the conversation one way or the other, either through your emails or if the station has a chat room, you give your 2 cents there. And I appreciate all the people who give time to the show, and we've been really lucky that we've had such great support in the last few weeks to where we can now actually move forward in our plans to upgrade the station and the show. Because we were in dire need. We didn't know what we were going to do. We were up against the wall. Tough. We didn't think we could expand anymore. We didn't even know if we could maintain our current level of excellence because our technology was so far outdated that it was hindering what we were doing here. Now I've made this whole show, or at least this segment, very personal. Instead of talking about what is happening out there. But I don't think my listeners come to hear just news. I don't think that's the truth. I think once you start really getting a grasp for this show, you understand and you appreciate the diversity, the variety of the content. And sometimes we're very serious, and other times we're very loose. Hopefully you'll be noticing the changes real soon. We've got a couple more episodes before we take our full-blown summer vacation. We'll talk about that in the next segment. Maybe delve into your phone calls as well. We're going to take a quick time out, my friends. Smoke them if you got them.
Because the John Lebang Show will be right back.
After this.
That's guaranteed. Yes.
Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning. For a beautiful, sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
Quality One Painting. For interior and exterior painting needs, call Tom at Quality One, 313-982-2986. Tom will give you free estimates, senior discounts, and I can tell you from meeting the gentleman, he's one of the nicest guys on the face of the planet. So for a quality paint job with a professional attitude, call Tom at Quality One Painting. That's 313-982-2986. 313-982-2986. Quality One Painting.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man.
Yes, I would like some too.
Don't forget that next week we're going to be having author of Rock and Roll Unraveled, Mr. Derek Shelmerdine, joining us in the first hour. We'll be talking about more rock and roll history going on. We had a great discussion last month, the top 100 albums. If you have not heard that archive or that show, please go to the website, www.jlebang.com. It's right there on the main page. We have left it there because it was one of our best shows of the year. All you have to do is click on the Listen Now link, and you'll get to hear the great conversation that we had last month. In the second hour next week, we got Captain Rainbow Civil War. Of course, this week's second hour, you're going to be hearing The Road to Civil War, Bangerverse Volume 2. Don't forget that August 4th will be our 299th episode, doing something semi-special for that one. Then in hour number 2, you're going to hear Bangerverse Volume 3, A Banger Mad Gone World. That's one of our better Bangerverse volumes. The week after, you'll hear Destiny Wars Part 1 and 2. That'll cover both first and second hour. The week after that, which will be around August 18th, will be Bangerverse Volumes 4 and 5. That's part of our summer broadcasting schedule. The following week, you'll hear Shady and the Mystery Freaks in the first hour, Bangerverse Volume 6 in the second hour. Then we get to September, which will be having Virtual Infinity Part 1 and 2. Then you'll hear on September 8th a brand new Bangerverse Volume 7, Donald and the Twittering Ding Dongs. And then in the second hour, you'll get the 300th episode of the John Lebang Show. We're hoping to have a whole bunch of great guests joining us. We're going to be talking about what the future of the John Lebang Show is looking like. There will be a video uplink to where you can actually see us in our brand new studios, which we are going to unveil that episode. We're very excited for that, because we're taking another step in the John Lebang Show. You know, doing this kind of broadcast, you go through different stages. That is, if you want to continue to progress at what you're doing here. You obviously don't want to stand still. You don't want to be in the same studio for too long. You don't want to have the same equipment, which would be outdated. And we are thankful for the donations that have come in. Unsolicited donations that have come in to the John Lebang Show that are going to make the next phase of this operation, the next phase, the next chapter in the book, amazing. We're also considering a reboot of an old video series that we won't tease you quite yet. We won't give you that name because we don't know if and when that'll take place, but we do believe that that is something we'll be able to reboot in the very near future. Our new setup is going to give us an amazing advantage over our peers. We also expect in the coming months that we're going to have a major explosion in the amount of stations that are going to be broadcasting the John Lebang Show. We are also very possibly going to be able to produce even more broadcasts, hopefully 5 days a week soon. We don't want to jump the gun just yet, but this new equipment that we've been able to acquire should take us right into the 21st century. I mean, we're headed to the future, and the future looks really good for the John Lebang Show. Sometimes this thing we do here gets to be tough when it is a repetitive week after week, and the grind, and there are so many other factors outside of just the show that getting to the show and being dedicated and producing quality content becomes very difficult, especially when you have old equipment that has done the job far beyond its capabilities. If there's a person out there who pushes his equipment to the limits, it certainly is me. And we're extremely grateful for the opportunity to upgrade the entire studio, not only with a cosmetic change, but we are going to have functional equipment that is not equal to our peers, but in so many ways it's superior to what they have, and it will be on the level of all the professional broadcasters out there. And with that being said, I think it's time to get to your phones. We want to talk about what you want to talk about, being that we've talked about things we wanted to talk about all hour. So with that being said, let's head out to Peppa in Chicago.
Hi, honeys. When you coming back to Chicago?
Hopefully we'll have a new affiliate out there real soon, Peppa. But if you're missing shows, you can always go to the website,
I knows that, honey. I goes there to look at your pictures. And then I see that pretty boy Shady, and I say, oh, baby, I remembers him.
Is that all you wanted to call about?
No, honeys. I want to say something more.
All right, well, go ahead.
That Dizzy Stupid is an ugly-faced, plastic-lip, fake boobies hoe.
Okay, thanks for your call. Our next call coming in from Detroit. Shady, you're up next.
John, did you hear that Hillary Clinton might be plotting another comeback to be president?
Yeah, I heard she might be putting things in order to get ready to take another shot at Donald Trump.
That tells you one thing, John.
And what's that, Shady?
There ain't too much brains on that side of the aisle.
What do you mean by that, Shady?
Well, nobody's good enough to be president, so they gotta keep putting ugly up there.
Shady, that's not nice to say.
Well, she ain't pretty, John. Have you looked at her lately?
I try not to, Shady.
That's what I'm saying, John. She's ugly.
Okay, is that all you wanted to say?
Well, that's not everything I wanted to say. Can I say more?
That depends.
I don't wear Depends, John. I'm not that old yet.
Yeah, but you're getting up there.
Well, hopefully I die before that happens.
Sure can't blame you for that sentiment.
By the way, John,
What's that, Shady?
did you know that women own more than half the investable assets in the country?
Actually, Shady, I did.
So much for them being oppressed, John.
But you know what's worse, Shady?
Don't tell me there's something worse, John.
Well, that's up for you to decide.
Well, tell me and I'll decide then.
70% of the money that will get passed down through inheritance over the next 2 generations are going to go right to women.
So they're going to go from half to 70%?
Not too bad, eh?
Why is it that we get all the bad rap, John?
We're men, Shady. Who likes men?
Gay guys like men, John.
That's not what I meant.
Ugly women like men, John.
Okay, yeah, I know, Shady.
Ugly women like you, John.
Nobody likes me.
Well, that may be true. I was just trying to make you feel better.
Is that it, Shady?
Yeah, I can't think of anything else to talk about.
All right, then. Thanks for your call. Our next call comes in from Gordy from Ottawa.
All the killer whales are dying, eh?
What? What do you mean the killer whales are dying?
In Seattle, eh?
Is that a new hockey team?
No way, eh? But that'd be a cool name for a hockey team, eh? The Killer Whales.
I guess so. Thanks for your call. Our next call goes out to Pedro in California. What say you?
Hey, man, where I'm here in Stockton, man. And they're gonna give us $500, man, just to be cool, man.
Oh, are you talking about that $500 basic income?
Oh, yeah, man.
And you think that's a good thing?
I do, man.
Well, thanks for your call. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what we're talking about, Stockton, California will be giving 100 residents $500 a month for 18 months with no strings attached, just as a universal basic income. Why? Well, apparently it's some sort of test they're doing to see how it works out. People getting free money. I'm sure that's going to work out real well. And now our next call goes out to Washington, D.C. Donald, you're up next.
John, how you doing?
Good, Donald. What do you want to talk about?
Did you hear about Obama's cyber chief, John?
Do you mean the guy that was told to stand down by Obama against Russian cyber attacks?
That's right, John. They like to blame me for all the Russian collusion, John. But I tell you, it was a huge problem for Obama. Why don't they complain about Obama, John?
Well, according to the news media, Obama was infallible.
I don't know what that word means, John.
That means he was perfect.
That's fake news, John.
I understand. The attacks happened during the Obama administration. He should be taking some heat with this Russian investigation.
And that's why I said it's all fake news.
Okay, sir. Thanks for your call. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We didn't get to that. Apparently, former Obama administration National Security Council Cyber Security Coordinator Michael Daniel confirmed on Wednesday that a stand-down order was given to counter Russian cyber attacks during the 2016 election. Just another clue to that little puzzle we talked about in the very beginning. Now, during the Senate Intelligence Committee hearing, Senator James Riss asked Daniel about a passage in the book Russian Roulette. The passage was about a staffer from Daniel's team, Daniel Preto, retelling the time that Obama's national security advisor, Susan Rice, told Daniel and his team to halt their efforts and to stand down in countering Russian cyber attacks. Yet, that is not mainstream news. That is not important news to the mainstream manufactured news agencies out there. What a revelation that is, that Obama told his cybersecurity people to stand down against Russia. Russia then hacks the DNC, exposing Hillary to be an even bigger scumbag than we already knew she was, exposing Podesta, exposing a whole bunch of other stuff through WikiLeaks. Donald Trump then wins the election, even though the FBI went back and forth about charging Hillary before the election. You just can't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. All right, folks, we're right against the end of the show. I'd like to wish you all a happy and safe week ahead of you. Thank you so much for all your continued support of the John Lebang Show. Please go to the website. That's www.jlebang.com. I also want to thank all of our affiliate stations carrying the John Lebang Show, the great and awesome affiliate stations. And with that being said, until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, this is John Lebang. Stay tuned for hour number 2, a John Lebang Show special, Bangerverse Volume 2.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance is futile.